All right. We are ready to call the meeting to order. Michelle, take it away.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 5:05. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can you say the statement of public notice, please?
Sure. Do you want me to roll call first, or do you?
I skipped that. Roll call, please.
Yay. Michelle.
Here.
Nancy.
Here.
Carrie.
Here.
And then Samantha and Brittany are also present from library staff. All right, we have a quorum.
Excellent. Statement of public notice.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
All right, public comment. There's nobody online, correct?
Nobody
And
online.
Nobody here. So the first order of business is approval of the minutes from November 1st, 2022. So do I ask for what do? I propose.
You're going to ask for someone to approve the minutes, or like pass a.
Right. So I say motion to.
Yeah, you're looking for a motion.
I'm looking for a motion to approve. I motion to approve.
I second that.
Excellent. Thank you. And now, chairperson's report. I have no report.
And so you want to, so all in favor?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry I haven't done this.
No, that's
this
okay.
is like my first time through. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? Any abstentions? All right. I'll slow down. Okay. Chairperson's report. I have no report because we are going to talk about everything later today. Unfinished business. I don't see anything listed. New business, discussion, action, approval of the 2024 through 2027 strategic plan data tools, questions. That's just the same thing. Yes.
All right, so I am going to. Just going to pull this up on the board too so you guys can see it depending upon what you're, everything that I'm showing you is also in your packet if you prefer to look there. Okay, so it's a strategic planning year, which means that we have, a bit to talk about. And I will give an update to the board, the full board at the main meeting just on, heads up, this is what's happening. But of course, it doesn't make sense for the full board to see the entirety of what's happening because then why have a strategic planning committee if all the work's done at the full board? So what the board told me at the last meeting was that they were interested in seeing the community survey, which admittedly ends up gathering the most data typically compared to some of our other data gathering methods. But the rest of it, once we talk about it here, you guys are going to give me your feedback, and then we're going to start launching those focus groups, launching those visual boards, finishing writing up the usability study, and get that stuff going. But the survey, everyone will see, and it's a good, variety for them to look at. But you will see everything tonight. So let's just slide right into packet page
5.
Well, there you go. Packet page 5. Yep. So the goal of this survey is to be long enough where we're getting good data, but not too long where someone will look at it and go, hard pass. I'm not going to spend 2 hours of my time doing this.
It says 10 minutes.
I know. That's my point. So that's why I don't want to make it longer, roughly, than this. And that's not to say we can't add a question or two if you guys think of something or if the full board thinks of something. But our goal is to try to keep the survey around 10 minutes because if it gets too long, people won't take it.
Not only the people who are taking it, but when I went through it, my concern was the library staff and having to go through however many you collect.
Well, and I so appreciate you thinking of us. The good news is that we are going to put it online. And so the majority of respondents tend to do it online, and that does give us a few more tools to collate the data. But we do send out the print surveys. We have them available for anyone who wants it.
Right here on site.
Yep, we will have that available on site. We will send it out to like our assisted living homes and senior communities. We will send out packets, there. So, but yeah, so it does certainly take some time, which is why on our strategic planning timeline, we end data collection around September because it takes September, October, and November just to collate all the data, analyze it, and then write the report. So, yeah. Okay, so yeah, we will have this electronically, we will have it physically, and we will deploy it, in many different ways. So my question is, in order to be efficient with our time, I will just open it up. Regarding the survey, we won't go on to the visual boards yet, but regarding the survey, do you guys have any questions or feedback about the questions?
You didn't mention using it at Jammin on Janesville, and I wondered if that would be an opportunity to have it out. I don't think you did. Am I still
I
up
thought
there?
that the boards are going to be at Jammin on Janesville.
Yeah, so we will have a strategic planning presence at Jammin on Janesville, and that's not to say that we could not have some stacks of the surveys if we get a really engaged person. When we get later into the visual boards, we are going to have some of the visual boards because it's really easy for large events. People walking by, beer in one hand, hot dog in the other,
Right.
to tell them, can you please fill out this 10-minute survey? Odds of getting it back with or without ketchup stains are, low. So we're going to have two different opportunities. We'll have some of the visual boards so that people can do those votes. And then we are going to have something new this year that Sam and I have been working on called an event drop-in survey, which is we took and distilled down to 3 really key questions. Questions that we can either run around on a clipboard and hand it out and they'll go scribble, 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 or questions that we can walk up to people and say, kind of like when people are waiting outside, say, can I give you a survey about the whales and saving, the climate? Can I ask you 3 questions about the library? It'll take 3 minutes. And I think in that way we are going to be able to still do our strategic planning inquiries in a event where people typically don't have their hands free, where they're walking, where things are really noisy.
Mm-hmm.
So I can definitely bring some surveys along just in case I get a really great person. We can tape on the like on a table a QR code that leads to the survey. So if people are feeling really engaged and excited, they can get right to that survey. So there are definitely ways we can do that, and I'll make a note of that. So QR code.
I like the way she said excited about the library.
I mean,
at Jammin with a beer in
Well,
one hand.
People come and they sign their kids up for summer reading.
yeah. So
People are excited.
They are. Well, we had a women's club meeting right here last night, and you all know about Safety City. It's filled already.
Yeah.
And we're
It was filled
turning
on
people away. I
day
know.
2. It
Yep.
was already
Yep.
filled.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
The Teach Women's Club has been doing this for
41 years?
Yeah, at least, yeah. Because my children worked in it when they were teenagers. It's teaching children all kinds of safety. Water safety, fire safety, learning how your telephone, everything you can imagine that you want.
It's great.
Little
It's for
people.
4 to 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they ride on little bikes
Yeah,
and they
we have a
learn
whole village set up.
bike
that-
safety as part of it. It's very cute.
Stop signs and we have a parking lot painted on at St. Paul's Lutheran Church.
It's for just 1 week.
Gotcha.
The kids do it every day for
When
1
we
week.
started out, it was 2 weeks, and it was both morning and afternoon. It's really been condensed a lot.
Yeah.
And it's in conjunction with the police department. So.
Yeah, they go on a field trip to the police department. So they learn bus safety there. It's really great.
That's awesome.
okay, so I'll make those notes to have some type of survey presence there for those that are interested. Anything else about the survey?
On page 6, I think, in the second line, it says, please skip to question 3. I think it should be 4. Because that was
Yes.
question 3.
In fact, all of that's messed up. I should have said if you answered yes to 3A,
Oh, yeah.
and then also skipped to question 4. So you are correct. Both of those are
Numbers,
wrong.
okay.
So fix that. Excellent. What else?
On page 5, number 1B, I was going back and forth a little bit over this. I understand we want to know if there's barriers, and that's what this is asking, but, do we want to ask, what are the reasons you don't use it? Because not everything is a barrier. Maybe the library doesn't carry something that they want to read or that they're super interested or we don't have enough anime or something. That's not preventing. It's just the wording.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the first word that you used?
Barrier.
Reasons.
Okay.
Like,
What are the
If you
reasons?
answered rarely or never, what are some of the reasons you do not use the
Place up,
library?
is there anything preventing you? Do you want to replace that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
Although I do think preventing is also important, but it just to me says more of like
But preventing is such a negative
it narrows
word.
it, right.
It's a negative word.
So I was saying if there's reasons we may get a wider.
Sure. And the reason may be
Variety
I don't
of-
think the building is accessible and that prevents me, but it could also
Yeah.
be the library director's crazy and I don't want to. Yeah, that's fair.
Or,
Or their own personal schedules, or, you know.
right, it could be their schedule.
Yeah.
Or it might just be that they didn't ever consider going to the library yet.
So I just thought reasons might be a.
Yeah. And one of the things that we were talking about, so Sam and Michelle and I, we've been sort of forming a work group to work on these. Sam and I have been doing the focus groups. Michelle and I have been doing the visual boards, and then the three of us looked at the community survey. One of the things we really want to be mindful of is, obviously our goal is to try to get non-users to answer these surveys as well, which is why we're going to the events and trying to ask people because we think we'll find some non-users there. But we don't want them to feel like bad for not going to the library. We want, like you mentioned, preventing is sort of like negative language. And I don't want to shy away from difficult conversations sometimes, but we want people to like answer the questions and not feel like defensive.
Yeah.
So
That's what it was. It did. Yeah. I just think reasons would be.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Are we going to have this on a shelf somewhere at City Hall?
The survey? That's a good idea. I will talk with the mayor about that. That would
Because people are in and out of there all constantly.
Yeah, it might be something good if they're standing in the line waiting to
Even
see
the chamber,
someone.
actually, I think she'd be happy to have.
Yeah, she will. Actually just talked to her today, so yeah.
Oh.
And then this is just a formatting thing, but can we put actual check boxes in question 4 and 5 when it's the long list of things? And you say place a check mark next to it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
And
feel like
sometimes the check mark might not
Can
be.
be sloppy just having graded
Yeah.
kids' papers and stuff. And not that kids are going to be doing this, but there will be a
Yeah.
lot of ambiguous checks, I feel like, do we mean the top one or the bottom one?
Right.
But stop,
Yeah.
you just said something that intrigued me. Not like kids are going to be doing this. Why not? We serve the children, why not have it surveyed?
Well, and it's interesting you mentioned that because if you recall way back in the day, and by that I mean November, I think, when we were approving the strategic planning framework, one of the things that we talked about was having a children's focus group. So questions that are modified slightly to ask kids. And of course, I want the parents to be there, so my goal is to insert myself in a story time. And talk with those kids. So we are going to do a children's focus group, but it would be really cute to do, we do passive programming all the time where the kids can vote on things. It would be interesting to have 1 month to ask Courtney if the jars could be what's your favorite part about the library? What do you wish the library had more of? And then they can vote using the little stones. So that would be a cool way to...
Make them feel important.
Yes, because they are.
Yeah.
Because they're adorable.
Or even a 1 page or 1 page both sides checklist. They can just check things they like or don't like or want. Or I don't know. My kids would be all over that as long as it wasn't too long.
Yeah.
The thing with the stickers, those
visual boards?
Yeah, the visual boards. My kids like those.
And we are going to have a visual board that is based on children's services. I'm trying to think of the question. We'll get to the PowerPoint and we can look at that because I think kids would be able to understand and willing to vote on it. But we'll see. We'll get there. So yeah, so we are going to have a kids focus group. Let me just write this down. And then we are the idea of doing a quote survey, which is in the form of our stone jar.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Are we going to have Zoozort this year during summer?
Yes, which is why we are launching the visual boards when we are.
Yeah, I was going to say Zoozort brings in such a crowd. It would be nice to have it then.
Are we having Zoozort this year, or is it the same?
We are, and they are one of the ones that we picked. But it's great. You have so many great ideas for things that we are going to talk about. One of the venues for collecting feedback are bookmark things with questions, and specifically at Zoozort and what was the other one? Maybe Mad Science, but I know for sure Zoozort. We have 2 summer reading programs that we're going to be handing those out at actively. We'll also have them for other things, but to specifically target that, and they will have a link for the full survey on them. I believe
that's great.
Yep. Yeah.
I know the crowds are huge.
Yeah. Yep. And parents sometimes are sitting there. And that's why you're right, Sam, that's why we chose the event drop-in survey, which is the 3-question survey, because we know that's something reasonable that people can fill out while also hoping their child doesn't, do whatever.
While we're talking about that, is there a problem in any way with children, like I'll watch what you vote for and then I'll do the same? How are we going to do it so that they're not, I want you to like me, so I'm going to check what you checked, that kind of.
I don't know if you really have to worry about it.
I mean, we will set it up, like the visual board will be set up sort of towards the children's entrance. The questions won't be asking like, do you like Britney or do you not? That I'd be concerned about them possibly feeling pressured. But I think, and I know this from my darling children, they're not shy about giving feedback, and they sure don't care.
About feeling.
Yes, my daughter told me to think more deeply yesterday. She said I wasn't thinking deeply enough. So
this doesn't go away. My daughters are in their 50s, and they told me on the weekend when we were talking about what's going to happen to Mom's things when Mom's gone, Mother, these are your memories. These are not our memories. So stop trying to get your stuff off.
Got it.
Children don't stop.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that'll be okay. But we do have some opportunities to target those high-level events like Jammin' or the large kids event with our strategic planning questions. And we are going to do some more child-related surveying in certain ways. Yeah.
I think that happens more verbally, Nancy, when you have a group of kids and you ask them to say something or vote on something, then if they see each other raising their hands. They look at one another to see what that happens a lot, a lot more than I think. If they're sitting down with their own paper or putting the rock in and not everybody's standing around watching them. Yeah.
And just to affirm that we're not avoiding the teens, we've already run a teen-specific survey this year asking teen questions. We have a specific visual board designed just for teens as well. So we are capturing, trying to capture that group as well. So
I like that too because it gives them some importance.
Yeah. All right. What else?
On page 7, question 6B, you've got 5A in there, and there should be 6A.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, page 7, question 6B.
Yeah.
Okay. 5 is the top.
Right. She means to reference 6A, not 5A.
Yeah.
Okay.
Within question 6B.
If possible, can you make it that it's all on one page for 5? Because it's all continued. Can you make that its own page?
It would. If I do that, then there's going to be huge gaps. So I would put a gap here, and I suppose I could put see next section. But then the problem is it'll bump other questions, split other questions.
Oh, okay.
I know it's a little like that. Because there's some 7A. There's no way it's going to be on 2 pages.
Okay. I also, when it says e-audiobooks,
Mhm.
is that supposed to be hyphenated between the e? Because it looks kind of funny.
What do you think, Sam? How do you typically see it?
Where do you see it, Kara?
If you look on page 7, it's the top one.
Yeah.
Under
Okay.
Like audiobooks and e-audiobooks.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you can hyphenate it, but typically no. E-book is just e-book, and
Right.
same with e-audiobook.
Okay.
There's like no hyphen
It's just
in
so
it.
many
I
vowels.
do see it sometimes where it's like lower e, capital A, for
Yeah.
that distinction.
Yeah.
I think visually, and same with e and then capital
Okay.
book.
I can do that. I can do a capital A for audio. Maybe that will help.
Yeah. It looks kind of like, like it's French.
Like it's a typo
Like
or
a typo,
something,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I'll go through and change that to a capital A. Then I should probably change
It's in a lot of places.
I'm sure it is. And by the way, with the numbering, can you tell that I added a question early on and then it shifted everything?
Everything, yeah.
Oh, that's
Really
why.
funny.
Yeah.
Okay. In that same list, so on page 7, further down where it's resume online, resume database, Cypress, can you do the little E, what is it
the
called above
accent.
the E? Yeah, the accent. Because otherwise it also looks like resume. Sorry, it's like the 5th one up.
Yep.
In question 5.
Yep.
That's just me being, attentive. And then very last one, under 5, assistive services. Maybe add the word pickup after curbside, or they might not know what curbside means.
And that's very, casual of me
Yeah.
to say curbside. Like we're picking up wings and not library books.
Well, people are familiar now.
Good call.
And then the section 2, library mission, that very first sentence. It is the mission of the Muskego Public Library is as follows.
It sounds perfect.
What page are you on?
You want
Page 8.
Oh, sorry, page 8.
The top.
Right, it's the
Very top, the very first sentence.
So you could just cut off it is.
Oh,
Yeah, or it is, yeah. Yeah, I could either do the mission of the Muskego Public Libraries is as follows,
Yeah.
or it is the mission of the Muskego Public Library. Well, yeah, I think it's,
Yeah, the
sticky,
mission.
it is at the front, right?
yeah. Excellent.
Boy, I thought I read this closely. You read it even
Second,
more
Well,
closely.
so did I.
That's what I do for a living.
Second from the bottom, where it says community gathering place and it has a hyphen, I didn't know if that is correct, to have the hyphen there.
What do we think?
I say no.
It's stricken from the record.
Where? Sorry.
The second,
Community gathering place, second from the bottom.
I put a hyphen in there.
Could go either way.
Well,
We
we shall
should be
review.
we can get rid of it.
Yeah. Right?
I see what you're saying, Karen.
Yeah.
I know this might be picky, but 7A, the top, the instruction, do we need the numbers? Because we're not using the numbers.
Oh.
Where it says 5, strongly agree, 4, somewhat agree, like,
Oh, yeah, very
should
true.
we just remove those numbers?
Is that internally when we do the I actually
Maybe.
don't know.
But why would I have put that originally? I wonder if it's just the.
Maybe it's
It's
on
the
the
same.
computer, maybe when you click, maybe it has numbers with it.
Maybe I don't know. We'd
Yeah.
have to look at the old survey.
Can you make a note to look at that?
Yeah.
Because I like that you're using the words, it's just easier than for some people to give the numbers and having to remember
Well,
what.
well, actually, it says 5 is strongly agree, and yet in all of the following, there is
Yeah, it
no
does not have strongly
There's
agree
no
either.
strongly agree.
Wait, what's that thing?
It's
The word-
like
it has
strongly,
strongly
but
agree.
it's just listed
Oh.
as agree or disagree.
Yeah. And it does not have strongly disagree.
No.
Yeah.
Also.
Apparently I didn't want to. Okay, I'm
I
just
didn't
gonna.
want anyone
I'm
to
gonna
feel that strongly.
See, I don't need to know how strongly people feel about anything. I will edit that to remove the numbers and the stronglys.
And then it won't be quite as wordy.
Yeah, which is good.
Perfect.
Cool. Good. And now the question is, did I do? Yep. Okay, let's just acknowledge that happened throughout and move on.
Yeah.
Funny. All right.
On page 10, at the bottom, you have Betty Bryn. Betty Bryn has 2 N's.
Yeah.
So 10 at the bottom. Betty. Oh, yeah.
It might just be so that it fits on the page, but it also, so far, is the only question where everything's not in a single row, like we don't have, is that because of the paging?
I was trying to keep.
And that's fine, because
Yeah.
there is another one later for the demographics, and I assumed it was
Yeah.
for that same.
Yeah. I try to keep the questions on one page if I can, because
Mhm.
to Carrie's point, it is confusing.
Yes.
I don't want to avoid that if possible.
Um, 11, it's Discovery World, not Discover World.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Oh, between the two of us, Carrie, we're.
I know. Look at them all.
Better now than before I print off 1 million copies and put it online.
1 million copies? Wow.
Well, yeah. Perhaps I exaggerated slightly.
Yes, perhaps.
That would never happen.
Okay, there's the ebooks and the audiobooks. Like that. Anything else on the survey before we move on to what's next? Visual boards. Thank you.
14, the Friends of the Muskego Public Library run fundraisers. Shouldn't it be runs fundraisers? It's weird because Friends is plural, but it's a singular organization.
Yeah.
Like
So
proper noun.
So the Friends of the Muskego Public Library, we should consider it as like one thing.
Right, so if we were saying the library runs fundraisers,
Right.
it would be
it's a
runs,
group.
not run.
But it says friends. The friends run. That makes more sense, doesn't it?
Can you put maybe quotations around Friends of the Muskego Public Library?
Or underline it.
Or underline it? Yeah.
That's why it's confusing, Nancy. It sounds
'Cause it's-
weird, though.
It's an entity just like the women's club.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Yeah, I was thinking, should we explain what they are?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because people don't necessarily know, like, especially like the garden walk, if they didn't hear about it. I also wonder if we should have like a suggestion. Because if people have another suggestion, we might not do it this year, but we can plan
A
for it in the
fundraising
future if
suggestion?
it sounds like something good.
So maybe could you say the Friends of the Muskego Public Library is a nonprofit fundraising group
Yeah.
that runs fundraisers throughout the year? That would work then.
That would work, yeah. But I like Carrie's idea too of asking for new ideas.
Yeah.
You know, maybe.
People might have some good ideas that we would like.
Other. Fill in the book. Got it. Okay.
For the demographics,
Mhm.
did you pick those based on who is checking out books here or who has library cards here?
Like all the questions or specifically
No,
the cities?
just for the cities. Yeah.
For the cities. Yeah, so we looked at who our most likely cardholders would be, yeah. And
Those are all in our consortium, aren't they? One's name?
Franklin is not.
Wind Lake is
Hales
not.
Court. Well, Wind Lake tends to pick us. They are a true non-resident, so they don't have a library, so they tend to choose us.
Because the school district is Muskego.
Exactly, yeah. So they tend to be ours. Franklin and Hales Corners tends, they are Milwaukee County, but
Right,
they do a lot of programming visits to us
Okay.
because of the strength of our programs.
Okay.
Page 13, the first question, what is your favorite method of receiving information about the library? The very last one, notify me email. Is that a type of email?
It
Notify
is.
me?
It's the name of the city city email notifications that you can get through the website.
Okay.
It's hard because, I think most people don't call it notify me. That's more of a staff
Yeah,
thing,
that's
so
why
I can see how that would be confusing.
Quotation marks?
So maybe I should just, the problem is if I put city email notifications, it's run through the city's software and our website software, but it's our notifications, and I don't want them to think that the city's just sending them something. It's I guess we could just say library email text notifications.
Is that kind of when I have something ready to pick up? Does that count under that?
It does. But here, and this is the tricky thing about, I think, the marketing is that we have emails that go out for items that, you've checked out or are overdue, but there's also emails about our programs.
Oh.
And this question is rather general. It's just saying information about the library. So for some people, they might be thinking, they mean, my account information, what I have checked out. Other people could be thinking programming. Other people could say, library closures. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's sort of a general marketing question, and so they could interpret that two different ways depending upon if it's a library email for my account or library email for programs.
This is off the page, but we no longer have any kind of local newspaper, do we?
Correct.
Nothing.
The city
We used to have
declares
the Now.
Right. Yeah, and that's no longer. The city, for government reasons, declares the Waukesha Freeman
It's local.
its local paper in terms of publishing notices, but there's nothing here.
Next one down on page 13. Can we, instead of saying, would you like to be contacted to provide further information regarding your answers, instead of a question, should we make it into a statement? If you would like to be contacted to provide further information, please enter your contact information below. Because it's kind of odd we have a question without a yes, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have that if you are interested in the next question also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. To echo each other better. Awesome. That's really helpful stuff. Anything else on the survey before we move on to visual boards?
I'm just going to take a quick minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
And of course, obviously, if you think of something in the next day or two that's, the full board will see this, in May. So you can always continue to. But hopefully, if there's anything life-changing, we want to talk about it now because this is the time. Okay, so moving on to packet page 14 is our visual boards. And the value of the visual boards are that people can provide quick feedback, right? So it's one of those, I'm carrying a baby and pushing a stroller, and I'm not going to have time to fill out this 10-minute survey, and I may forget to scan the QR code later, but I can do that now. So we're capturing maybe that demographic that is not able or willing to sort of spend 10 minutes of time, but we can get some quick stuff. It also offers a response type that's accessible to patrons. So there are some people who, like heavy text is not the best way for them to, get information. And so something that's more visual or lower text info is really helpful.
Right. The photos are really nice.
The photos are very nice, yeah. So that is the reason why we do visual boards. We are having five visual boards that talk about adult services, 1 that talks about teen services, and 3 that covers the kids area. So 8 in total. That's a bit of a uptick from last year.
But there are 9 if you count those.
Yeah.
I was confused.
Because math is hard, even simple addition. And
I wish I could have filmed that with it.
well, I mean, it's on YouTube. It'll be there forever. And also, we added 1 board last minute, and I think we forgot to edit that. So moving on. To packet page 17, these are the first 2 adult ones about our passes. And then our technology updates. The thing that I want to emphasize about the technology updates is just because the patrons end up leaning one way or the other doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be a quick fix. Some of these require a lot of money. Some of them require the entire system to say, yes, we agree, like for the renew your library card at home. I mean, this is a huge one. I think this would be a great thing for our patrons, but it requires the whole system to buy into the software. But what it would do if the patrons all heavily weigh on that one is it tells me what to advocate more on a system level for. Mm-hmm. Most of these require money to go towards them.
So that's a caveat that the survey filler outer doesn't know, right?
Yeah, and again, they're going to tell me what would be a helpful thing for them, and then it tells me, like, is this where we need to prioritize more budget dollars compared to another area of the library? Is this where I need to advocate harder at the system level? Is this where we need to start shifting our collection setup? So it's not a guarantee. Like with any survey answer, there's factors aside from just someone saying, yeah, I'd like this. But I do think that I'm very curious to see what people select, because they're all things that we've heard anecdotally patrons say they would like. So what is the priority? It would be interesting.
I have a question. So this is for adults. However, I could see a lot of when families come in and a parent stops to look that the kids will also vote. Does that matter?
And that is okay. So when I say adult, we wanted to be very intentional about making sure that we cover different service areas. Mm-hmm. The adults tend to be the ones to pay for going to these experiences and going to these experiences if they have children. And of course, some of these don't require children to go to and enjoy.
Right.
So while it's more prone to adults, we are not preventing teens or kids from voting for these, right?
Okay.
So we're not saying you have to be a teen. It's just this general service area is more likely to fall into these categories. But a teen has just as much of a right to say, you know what, I really want to go to the state parks or to the art museum, so they're certainly allowed to vote them.
I like that we're giving them that option too.
Yeah, I was curious for the state parks. Does that mean like the sticker on the window is being used, or does the person still have to? Is it like a day pass?
It's a day pass,
okay.
And some libraries are piloting this right now. I'm not fond of how the state has it set up, so I'm very curious what people's preference is. Obviously, if people heavily weigh towards it, I'll look at it more closely, but it is not set up in the way The zoo passes are set up. They're one and done. So basically you're just handing out a disposable pass. So basically you just bought someone a ticket as opposed to something we can keep circulating. So I would love for the state to get to a pass that you can keep circulating and bringing back. And maybe
that doesn't really seem like a pass.
Right. And it doesn't count towards our circulation counts then if we're just handing them out, right? And circulation is helpful. So, like I said, I'm not fond of the setup, but that doesn't mean, of course, that I can't advocate to the state to change that if our patrons really heavily look into it.
Can we add things to this, or is this a set list? Like, what about the Milwaukee Public Museum?
They don't offer it yet.
Oh, they don't.
So Michelle went through and did an audit, so to speak, of different places reasonably in this area that our patrons would drive to, and figured out who has Explorer passes and who doesn't. These were the ones that did in our immediate area, and so that's why we selected them. Yeah, I'd love the public museum, but they're not. Yeah. They're not there, and it's tricky because, of course, some of these places it's not to their benefit to make that available because they'd rather have people buy their own tickets or passes. For some people, we buy the corporate level pass, and that's more money than maybe they would see. So,
what's the use of those passes? Are they constantly checked out, or is it one a month? Or
the zoo pass is funded by the Friends, so it's not funded by library dollars. The ROI on it is about double. They paid for the pass 2 times over. The Discovery World is funded by a family in honor of their mother, and I think that's mentioned somewhere.
Yes.
Irene Murray, and they're very kindly offering to fund it again for next year. That is always checked out.
Okay,
and
that's what my question is.
Yeah.
Are they just sitting there, or do they get used?
They definitely get used, and I always present the statistics to the Friends so that they know that their investment is still worth it, because of course they could choose to use the money, elsewhere to support the library if it wasn't of interest. So. All right, let's keep taking a peek. We can always go back if you guys think of other things. As you know, marketing is such a challenge. It's something that we're looking to continually improve. We're working on the most updated version of the marketing plan. Amanda and I are finishing that up, and the board will see that at some point. We've spent a lot of years strategically working on the building. That was a big focus on the last strategic plan. We've now done a lot of the work that needs to be done, with the exception of the roof, which I'm hoping to push off a few years, the parking lot, which I'm hoping to push off a few years.
Just not
yeah.
For luck on the roof.
Yes. Yeah. So what you're going to see a theme in terms of our strategic questions that we're asking, not only in our focus group questions, our visual boards, our community survey, is more how are we communicating the spaces that we have, the services that we offer. Communication is a big part of the strategic plan so that we can continue to, improve that. So that's the purpose of this question. And, based on the feedback you gave me about notify me, I may change that language.
Would it also be helpful, we could do the city email, but if you feel like that could be confusing, would it make more clarity if we kept it as notify me and added the copyright symbol? Like when you look at the picture up there of the notify me, you can see that it's the name of a entity kind of thing.
I think that's a good idea, because otherwise people might think, the library will just email me about everything.
Well, or like I said, the distinction between what the book ones are and whatever, notify me is pretty specific to just events, programs, closures. It has nothing to do with materials.
Right.
Yeah, and again, this is sort of a general question, so people will interpret it for some people, they receive communications about their materials, and that's what they've signed up for. But you can also sign up for program communications as well. And I don't think we do the greatest at advertising this notify me method. Like, I have a
Right.
feeling that if we left it like this, people would probably be like, notify me, what's that? And
I think that they would just skip over notify me and just see email.
yeah. And then, and so that's the problem, I think, with the results a little bit, is that if a lot of them cluster around email and text, are they thinking of our programming texts and emails, or are they thinking of our account, like our materials text and emails? And because this question is designed for us to better understand and have awareness about how they're getting the info. So I hesitate, like you can see how crowded this board is already. I hesitate to split it out into like programming, email, and communications, and then also materials, email, and communications, but those are technically two different communication vehicles. So,
But if you just do notify me with the copyright with that picture, I think that they'll realize that that is something different.
Or, I mean, it might also just be helpful to say programming, email, and text communications. I know we also have the emergency notice email as well, but what I'm most curious about is, the programming, frankly. So maybe it's just better to call it what it is. Because actually, let's face it, when we are signing people up for library cards, we're very they're getting a communication, and they get to pick it. So they're aware of that communication about the materials. It's the programming one that, like, frankly, it gets lost in a fog. People really aren't aware of it.
Right,
we don't really have we don't have a process to talk to people about it. So I think that's
In lieu of changing the name of the responses, then do we rephrase the question so that if you're saying like, to get information about the library, that could be about books and things, do we say, what is your favorite method of receiving information about library programs, events, or other updates, and so that it's specific to that topic?
If we do that, because you're right, some of these are pretty much solely related to programs that we do, although not all, because our brochures talk about our services and materials too.
Right.
If we do that, then the Cafe app doesn't really apply. We could remove it, and I'm curious about people's awareness about the app, but because it doesn't do programs yet. But it will.
Might.
It will and might if the new update ever happens. The print calendar, it does programs, but it's also library information, right?
Yeah.
Some of these serve dual purposes. The website does information and materials and programs. The Facebook page does do updates about information and programs. I think the problem is that I am trying to have this board tell me multiple things. And if I put two boards next to each other, one that's general communication and then one that's programming communication, and I could do that.
Seems like a lot.
It does.
Yeah. And so then I think the question is, what am I more interested in learning about?
You mean between programs versus?
Or impact on staff.
Yeah, I mean, the helpfulness of this is, like, we put a lot of time towards all of these methods and vehicles. I doubt we would ever step away from, we have to have a website. The print calendar has always been so popular, I can't imagine getting rid of it. We're in the app, so most of these are sort of obvious, but it may help us show where we need to devote more time to.
Or put more resources into whichever ones. If there's like 100 people that say Facebook and one person that says
It may also tell people that all of these exist because they aren't aware, like, oh,
bit of
there's
an
a
advertising.
Facebook page.
Yeah. Do you guys mind if I just dwell on this a bit? I'll make a decision. Your feedback is helpful regarding, like there might be some conflict between this question and what I was trying to do. So let me think on that.
Okay.
This question is a direct, I'm trying to figure out if people are making a shift in their media consumption based, like, are they intentionally checking out less physical items in favor of using other online services? And some of these online services are our services. Libby, Hoopla, Canopy, those are all things so this is not me saying have you abandoned the library necessarily, but I'm just curious if they are starting, like, what their decision making is in their consumption of materials from physical to electronic. So sort of a simple yes or no question, but. All right, and this is something that we've seen a couple of other libraries do, and I'm just curious if people would find it of value or not.
So for that question, I was just curious, is it our staff that would be doing it? Okay.
Yep.
Because you never know if, like, you're getting put into a database and that,
Oh, sure.
you know.
So, book recommendations service run by library staff. Add that in. It's kind of like when you're at a restaurant, you have no idea what's good on the menu, and you ask, like, what would you recommend? This is sort of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it because I'm in 2 different book clubs.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps to find out what other people are.
It is, yeah.
It's always nice that there's a display when you come in of books.
Yes.
Yeah. So Amanda and I talked at great length about what we wanted to ask the teens about because the last strategic planning process was very heavily about the space.
Mm-hmm.
And that space is amazing and it's great. So she and I talked around and around, and I asked her, what do you really want to know, from the teens, aside from the general survey that she's already done with them? And it came down to marketing again. She wanted to know, and you'll see this one is specific to programming. She narrowed that down for that. And we adjusted it slightly to parents, teachers, and friends because we're curious if the teens are getting most of their information from their parents. So, yeah, we're excited to get this answer because obviously reaching teens is always a possible mystery.
Would it make any difference if we change friends to peers?
Do you think that's language that they use?
I haven't had a teenager in so many years. I really can't answer that.
I think it's good to have friends.
Friends can be all ages. And aren't we looking for...
Does it matter if another teen told them or if their little brother told them?
I think our main goal is, are they getting their information from outside our marketing vehicles? That's what we're curious about.
Okay.
That's just word of mouth,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing, of course, because those people got it from somewhere.
Right.
But it would certainly tell us something.
What about emails and texts? It's not on there.
You're right. Why didn't we? Because we took the original list and we sort of pared it down to what we thought would be best for the teens. Why did we take that up?
I just feel like all teens have a phone these days.
Yeah.
So they may.
Well, and we put the app on there because I suspect that most teens don't have the app. That's a guess. But
it doesn't work on my phone, so I think it.
Really? What kind of phone do you have?
iPhone 8. I had it and it worked great, and then at some point it just.
When did it stop?
It's a year or two ago.
Oh.
Like like it was a while and I couldn't figure it out, and I asked, and they're like, delete it, download it. I did that. It just crashes as soon as I try and open it up. So it's super weird. So point being, we don't know. I'm curious if we can tell what kinds of phones it's compatible with. Like, do they?
Let me email the person in charge of the app development. I'm curious if they have any other feedback.
Yeah. Or if they have a list of phones that it's.
If you would return that book that's been overdue for 7 years, I think they would.
I know, right? That's probably it.
It's her again.
I'm sorry, guys.
Return the book. We'll let it work.
Let me talk with Amanda and see why we removed that. I don't recall off the top of my head. All right.
Do you have, or could you have, a separate teen text stream?
We do, and maybe that's why it was taken off the list, is she would have access to how many people are subscribed to the list, right? I'm assuming. The Notify Me that's through the city, Amanda's our marketing person, is very heavily involved with like sending out notices and things like that. So she might have access to the list of how many people are subscribed to receive those alerts, and it might be that it's so few that we know it's not an avenue that people are using.
I'll ask.
But is it because they don't know it's out there? So if it was
Well,
on
true.
here, it may trigger them to.
True.
I don't know, just a thought, because I know then that's a lot of. It's another
The sad thing about visual boards is it's doing what we want it to do, which is quick answers. But then of course you want to get follow-up. It's like, but wait, like I want to wear them like a sandwich board and be like, why did you put? Tell me more. But that's what the surveys are for. That's what the focus groups are for. Okay, I'll make a note to talk with her about that. Okay. The kids area, I talked with the children's staff. One of the questions they were curious about is if another kid-friendly computer like the one we have would be beneficial.
I don't understand the AW acronym.
Yeah.
It says it on the computer.
It's the
Right, but
it's the
people aren't
brand of the
gonna know that
computer,
here.
so I can put the copyright logo. Or maybe it's just kid-friendly computer. Like
That's what I was thinking.
That's fine. We'll just remove it. This.
And what's a blackout sensory space?
I know, we were trying to find the right terminology. So there are spaces that, in public places, that people are putting in for people who need, who are feeling overstimulated. And it usually has like lower light. It's a room where it can be quiet. Maybe it has like a sound machine, like really soft. Just a place to sort of get away from the overstimulation. And they're usually called sensory spaces. I do agree with you. I think the word blackout immediately starts to create other images.
Like a dark box with things in it that you stick your hands in, and like at Halloween, you're like, feel breaks our eyeball and stuff. Yeah,
that also sounds
spaghetti is brains.
Quiet time sensory space, or you could just call it sensory space, but that makes me think of like sensory activities, like our own sensory story time.
Well, and there are some sensory usually activities in there, but I'll find some better language for it. I'll do something like a sensory space is a place where blah, blah, blah. Would this be of value to you?
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I want to confine it to the kids area. I've been looking around the space because it's a well-utilized space, and there's not a lot of space to carve out without making some tough decisions about like removing shelving, which reduces the size of the collection. But there's other possible areas in the library. People can be overstimulated as adults too. It's not just a kid thing. So I may not necessarily make that. I do think that children would find it of value, but I may work that out a little. So okay, I'll work on coming up with a better phrasing for better understanding for that. Okay, awesome. And then kids programming. We really narrowed down to 3 things. We're curious if people are going to Facebook. We're curious if they're looking at the advertising wall and print. So this is not a full, the print calendar. So it's not a full gamut. We're really targeting kids programming and seeing what they prefer amongst these specific 3. And I think that was the question that made it 9. Okay, so our plan is to deploy these survey boards for 4 weeks. Anything more than that, and people just tend to walk past them or they've already done it. We don't want them to vote twice. We picked this time period because it's the start of summer reading, so people are going to be coming in droves to sign up. And then, there are some key library events taking place, so we'll probably travel them towards that area to try to get people to fill them out there. We will certainly make sure the teen board also spends some time in the teen area so teens can vote there. And we will have a modified version of not all of the survey boards. That's too much for Jammin and Janesville. I don't want a million jars. That'll be confusing. We'll probably pick 1, maybe 2 primary questions that we want answered, and we are going to put jars with, and they can vote, with the pebbles, kind of like the passive programming. And that's because every year, Jammin and Janesville, it's inevitable. It's so windy. And then all the boards would start blowing over. Yeah. And I honestly considered wearing them like a sandwich board, but I thought I might scare people away. Like, people might not want to do it.
But you didn't have to
walk away.
Right.
Or it might be raining, or it might be 90 degrees.
Yeah,
you might not want that.
No,
It might be heavy.
it's always windy for Jammin, and it always rains for the garden walk. These are the weather patterns you can live by. So we'll do that. And anything else for survey boards before we...
Not survey boards, but I'd like to go back to what we started with. I had an idea after we moved into survey boards. You know how when we vote, we get a little sticker that says, I voted?
Oh, yeah.
Is it possible to get a sticker that says,
I strategized.
Well,
after they fill out a survey?
I loved at the library today.
So when for summer reading program in the past, for the adult summer reading program, I think it was, they had the survey as one of the activities you could do.
And it will be for this year as well.
Okay.
And then people...
Because people like that they
doing the summer reading program can get raffle tickets to use towards prizes for completing the survey.
Yeah.
But it is a nice idea for people who aren't submitting it through the summer reading to get something for it. Although we do know from the last time we did it, the biggest component was filled out online. Even though we will have them in print for the summer reading booklets and we have them to hand out, most people complete the survey online. So it would be harder unless they came up to the desk and said, I completed the survey, for us to honor that.
I mean, it would be kind of wild to try to do it at our large events because then people would start to see people walking around with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That. It depends on the cost.
Yeah.
For the right amount of money, I'm willing to spend on a custom sticker. We have our pins, our button maker, but that takes a lot of staff time to do.
It does.
But
and it takes more time to
manipulate
the little.
I don't like putting holes in my
sticker.
clothes.
Yeah.
Especially in summer when I have t-shirts on, I wouldn't want to put holes in them. Just saying, stickers might be better. Maybe because I heart my library or something.
Yeah, I think
Something
that
you
might
could-
be better. I heart my library because.
where'd you get that? Oh, this is where. Because they're going to have to ask anyway. The
Right.
sticker will say, now please go to the library parking lot. and fill out the-"
Yeah. Right. But yeah, I heart my library. I think is really good.
Yeah, I like that.
It might
Some
be
kind of
nice
reward
for those
participants.
event drop-in kind of things too, like answer 3 questions. We'll give you a sticker.
Yeah.
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 That's a good
And
idea.
the stickers are easy enough for you to carry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get a little dispenser.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Wear like a tool belt.
Yeah.
Survey sticker.
Nice. Good idea. Thanks, guys. All right. Focus groups. All right. This is what Sam and I have been working on. If you like the beauty of the PowerPoint, that's thanks to Sam. She made it
Now I'm very concerned about typos.
Why? I'm not. Everyone's here to help.
You should be
Well,
worried.
I feel like I dropped the ball when you sent me the survey first. Like, this is what we're going to do. And I, read through it, but I did not.
We've had a few
Detail.
things going on.
We've had a few.
Yeah.
The whole point of, I mean, if it was going to be perfect, then we wouldn't have to work it out in committee.
True.
Okay, so you may recall from the, when we did the strategic planning framework, we talked about stakeholder groups. And so, Sam and I have been talking about those groups, and of course, the goal is to make this process available to everyone, which is why we have print surveys and electronic surveys. It's why we're showing up at different big events. It's why we're going to send them to senior residences. We'll try to target all that for focus groups who want to be intentional about talking to different people. And so as we've been thinking about those groups of people that we're going to target, these are some ones that came to mind. As you may have seen in the city newsletter or the Muskego Now, I've already scheduled, Sam and I have already scheduled 2 open call focus groups. What we found the last time we did the strategic planning process is that the open call ones, they're important, right? Because everyone gets a chance. So they went in the city newsletter, went in Muskego Now, we'll put it on Facebook a little bit later. It's on the calendar. Everyone has a chance. We have one in the evening for people who are working. We have one during the day because some people don't like to go out out after a certain time of day, even though it's lighter. But we also know historically, and this is true in general, that open call focus groups are hard, right? You don't tend to get gobs of people. So we found a lot of success with what I would call targeted focus groups, which is we are uniquely suited as a library to have ready-made groups meeting here all the time. Mm-hmm. And so why not impose ourselves upon them and say, would you be willing to answer these questions since you're already here and gathered, right? So the Women's Club.
I was just going to bring that up because we're done until.
Oh, you're done?
We're done until September.
Well, you know what? I'll be meeting with you guys in September. There's still time. So, yes. So we're going to be targeting different groups that I'm hoping Sam and I can be invited to. We just need some time. So, we'll go to the Crafternoon. Hey, can we talk to you guys for about 10 minutes afterwards? We'll see if we can get invited to the Women's Club. We, of course, want to talk to computer users because they have very specific needs within the library. So, I may walk up to a group of them and say, hey, do you 3-4 people have, 10 minutes? Let's talk. Study room users, right? They have a very, very specific use of the library, and maybe they don't use other areas of the library. So I really want to talk to those people. We're going to try to put a team focus group together if we can find them.
They're coming for summer reading.
They are. You're right. Children. We, of course, have school groups, Atlas, which, Sam, we need to meet with them soon because Atlas will be ending for the summer.
It will.
Yeah. I need
Next Thursday is the last one.
Next Thursday is the last one, but so is that another one that we could, because that will resume again September.
Yeah, we'll have to see what we have time for.
Yeah.
So.
And also, Atlas is one that people kind of drop in and leave.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have trouble having a big group out all at the same time.
Well, the beauty of these are we know where people are going to be. Maybe we get 3 people together. That's a focus group, If it's just one person I'm talking to, then we relabel it a one-on-one interview. But we use the same questions, whether it's an interview or a focus group. That way we can compare the data. But I don't want to discount some of these one-on-one opportunities that we have too. I'd like to talk to the school district superintendent. I want to be able to have a one-on-one conversation with her, but we're going to use the same focus group question. So we'll still get that data. St. Leonard Senior Group.
Well, where did that come from? Because that's me.
I know.
Have you sent me anything?
No, not yet. But I would love to maybe see if I could come to a meeting.
Absolutely, dear. You were such a hit.
Oh, good.
In February.
I tried. So these are other groups, and I'm not saying every one of these groups will say yes, right? But I'm just trying to show you that we went through our public meeting room forms. We thought about different user groups that use the library sometimes in very specific ways, and these are groups that we're going to start targeting and trying to get to. We may not get everyone. It's a pretty extensive list, though, so even if even a third of them say no, we'll still have some good data to go from. So.
Bring stickers. It might help.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Everybody loves something for nothing. Right? Free things.
Okay, so that's just showing you.
I just did Loose Bead Society.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a group that talks about beading and.
Yep, they hold meetings here at the library periodically throughout the year, including a big event once a year where they always meet our largest community room because they get so many people who do it. But yeah, it's beading.
What do they do?
Like craft with beads.
Craft beads. I have never attended myself, so I can't give further details beyond that. But my understanding is that they do craft beading. So. Making necklaces and lanyards and
Why doesn't that
things
fall
like
under
that.
crafting?
This is a specific group, kind of like the women's club. Like this is a group called the Loose Bead Society. It is separate from the Muskego Crafters. Is also the name of a specific group that uses them. Because we have a few different groups that use the rooms for crafting. We have a caning group. We have a quilting group.
Crochet.
The crochet ones, but this is the name of a specific, the Loose Bead and the Muskego Crafters are two specific groups who use the rooms on a frequent basis.
And so we may add a few more groups in here. I think we have some groups that we've identified that aren't on this list, but I'm just trying to show you an example of like our thought process. The best news is I don't like hearing no, and this process is very scalable. So like let's say the Loose Bead Society says, no, we can't fit you into our schedule. We're busy doing our business. Then I say something like, would you be willing to send the survey email to everyone in your group? Or could I drop off these drop-in bookmarks for you guys to fill out because we have so many different opportunities to give feedback in different forms, it's really easy. Start with the focus group and then, move down to another way that might be more accessible for their group and not take up their time. So you will get them.
Mm-hmm. But it's showing their willingness to be flexible as well.
Yeah, we just want the info. We want to know what people think, and so.
If they say no to everything, just put a poster on the wall. Please do our survey.
You could have a stack of surveys at like Vintage Grounds.
I was thinking
because they have
about
that community section where they let people advertise for stuff.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Or even try and do a focus group there.
Yeah.
Hey, meet here at 10 o'clock
And
on
it's
Thursday.
so small. It is so small.
I know, but it's always packed. You'll get people.
That's why it looks so small.
Yeah. And if people are waiting, then they have a few minutes to do a survey maybe.
Just a thought.
They have those like cup holders where it's like buy this for someone who rescued a dog. Buy this if you're willing to go talk to the librarian in the corner. Are we willing to use library funds to pay for costs? Let's see here. I certainly want to talk to the business sector, so I'll be talking with the chamber, see if maybe I can talk to the executive board, or talk to small business owners, whether it's a focus group or if I just go to Vintage Grounds and talk to the owner, or to the milk can owner, things like that. Certainly want to talk to the Friends of the Library. They are certainly what I would call power users of the library. And so what they think is helpful. I think last time I went to their First Friday because we get other patrons too that aren't, they're part of the Friends group but not the executive board. So that's a good place, a ready-made focus group for us. I want to talk to the city, certainly, and see what they're thinking, what landscape changes they're seeing. Library administration, so I certainly want to talk to the board. I want to talk to library staff, Bridges system staff, neighboring library directors. That's always really interesting to sort of see what they're seeing or hearing as well.
Who's in the picture?
That is the Bridges library system staff, although several of them have retired or moved on. But that was the one that was on their website.
Okay.
They are fantastic. They know a lot. Okay, so we talked about our stakeholder groups. Every once in a while we get a non-user showing up to a focus group, and that's what that open call is for. Chances are, though, realistically, the focus groups, based on how we identify them, will tend to be users. And then the interviews are, again, one-on-one people we've identified. So I want to talk to the head of the Chamber of Commerce. I want to talk to the school district superintendent. I want to talk, whoever else. There are just some individuals that, I know are on my list of people to talk to. And then as Sam
Are you gonna go around and do this on an individual basis? Is it possible for you to have a gathering some night and get a representative from all of these groups that you want to talk to?
Well, I mean, I could. I could.
I'll wear you out. Well, you've got Sam.
I do. Sam and I are going to be splitting up the focus groups and interviews. And, part of what we're trying to do for some of these is it's within our library sphere. So we're trying to be agile about it. That's why the event drop-ins are helpful. It's a more agile way of doing some survey stuff. It does take time. And I mean, that is the value of paying for a service to do this. I like doing strategic planning, but it certainly does take time. And so,
I think I wrote in my notes in these pages 3 times. Overworking staff.
I'm glad we don't do it every year.
Yeah.
And, something to think about, and I'm going to be very interested in seeing how the data moves from what type of unique data we gathered this year compared to the previous year. Because I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, our strategic plan was only a 3-year plan. And that meant that by the third, only 2 years had passed and we were collecting this vast amount of data again. Mm-hmm. And I had requested that the board move it to a 4-year plan, which you guys approved, and that's great because that gave us some breathing room. This is only my second time doing this process, and so obviously the first year I was just making stuff up. The fact that we have a legible plan.
I love it. You're honest.
Great. This year I'm obviously looking at what we did last year and making improvements upon it. Moving forward, I'll be able to better sort of say, was that a good use of our time? Or maybe I need to include more people in this process, more staff, or maybe...
Our board, you know what? I'm sure board members don't mind. I don't mind going out to a group. And
that's a good idea, too. It's hard for me to delegate when I am still trying to, build the framework, right? By 4 years from now, I'll be such an expert telling everyone what to do. So, this is the most aspirational that we're going to get. Will I have to possibly winnow down? May I not get to all these groups? It's possible, right? This is the goal, this is the aspiration, and we'll just, do the best we can. Sam, do you have anything to add to the event drop-ins? I know we talked about it a little bit already.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of already touched on them. But, the goal is, and we do in subsequent pages talk about specifically what we will ask, but that is meant to be, as Brittany said, we know that our focus groups and interviews are with people who are active library users.
Right.
The goal of an event drop-in, we'll probably get library users too, especially at something like the garden walk, but we want to be going to places outside of the library sphere where we're targeting a wider audience, and that is the goal of National Night Out, Parents Night, Jamming on Janesville. People might be coming to the library to register, but we get a lot of people who are not active library users, who are just community members. So the goal of these is to try and find a quick, accessible way to get some information out of those people to see how we can better pull them into the library. And so if we want, we can even flip. We do have all of the questions we will be asking at the focus groups and the interviews, but on the very last one for this, the event drop-in questions are kind of the 3 overarching things we want to know that we just parse out a little bit more in those focus groups and interviews. So how often do you use the library? What is the preferred way to get information? And what would bring you in more?
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Sam, write this down. We have to remember to get the and this is what they look like, by the way.
Seriously, a Spice Girls theme.
It's Spice Girls if you know it's Spice Girls, but if you don't get Spice Girls, it's just a nice thing. But if people get the humor, fantastic. Amanda designed that.
Yeah.
And so the questions are on the back. They're just little bookmarky type things. We have to get these on May 17th to Holly, Emma, and Courtney because they're going to Bay Lane. And I haven't told them about this yet.
They are going to be super receptive.
They're going to be very receptive. But I
will. They'll be excited. But yes,
it's not hard to do. They just have to hand it out. But I forgot that we need to get that to them by May 17th because that's the parent night. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So.
But a perfect example of the questions on the back, those 3 quick ones, and then the QR to the full survey on the front. And these are the bookmarks we were mentioning too for Mad Science and Zoo Sort that we know specifically we will be actively handing these out so that as people wait, because we get such a big crowd, they will have the link to take the survey right then. We can have paper copies to do too, but we'll at the very minimum grab these because anything that leaves the library, so talking about vintage grounds and doing surveys there, they're right next door. If we want to put paper copies, that's great, but we also know that when people take things out of the building, they very seldom come back. So these are convenient for events and things where we are right there, where it's you fill them out, I'm taking it back instantly. You don't have to come back to the library to do it. And so vintage grounds, we certainly could do some paper copies. People might walk it back, but having something where they can scan the QR code or something like that might be get more responses.
Yeah. So on here it says that they can get a free flash drive.
Yeah, I
know.
So
how will you know? I was gonna say, how will you know if they did it or not? Like if they're in person.
So for
how do you know?
the last one, if they're in person, obviously we're collecting it back. When you were talking about the summer reading for the last one, we actually had at the end of the survey, because it's a Google survey thing, you can have a thing at the end, and we had a code that it would display at the end, and you would plug that into Beanstack, and that's how it would check off that you had completed it. So I think the way we would do that, if we decide to keep the flash drive, which we were kind of talking about, the flash drives were low motivation, and if we get an excessive amount of them, we might run out, which might also be...
We definitely would run out.
Okay.
And they are low motivation, because we've actually been running this survey with all the new residents. We started early stuffing them in the new resident envelopes that we send out with other library info. And we got one. So I think I'm going to remove it because I feel like we can use the flash drives better in other ways. And I'm going to correct myself from earlier. The QR code is not to our full community survey. It is to these 3 questions.
Short. I was also going to say, sometimes people might think this is a cute bookmark. If I fill this out and give it back to you, I don't get to have my cute bookmark anymore.
Then they can use the QR code.
Yeah.
And take.
And the other thing is, if they're filling this out, you need to give them a pen or a pencil also.
Yep. And clipboards for the ones that will be at. So that's excellent points. But something we had factored in was having stacks of pencils, clipboards for them to fill it out. And if they don't want to fill it out, we would also be actively saying, as Brittany said, like, we'd have a clipboard and be like, do you want to fill this up? Or we can take down your answers.
Yeah.
And we also, this is getting a little more detailed into it, but we also have these color-coded for different types of events, the different backgrounds, so that we'll be able to look to and see where did we get responses from different things. So at the parents' night for schools, they'll all be a color. For the children's programs, it'll all be a color. For other community events like jamming and National Night Out, it'll be a different color where we have them in categories, but so that we'll kind of know, are these primarily like parents and families? Are these different community people.
Right.
So we have some of that into place, but you're right, I do think the flash drive thing, and I forgot that the QR was for this, which maybe that's all we need it for.
Yeah, I think that's fine. We can still do a QR code at Jammin for the full survey
For the full
and stick
survey.
that, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll just be a different one.
Have you thought about the event in August, the last weekend, when we have the parade?
The Dandelion Days?
Yeah.
Yes.
I forgot the name of it. Because I'm in the information booth like most of the day, Friday night and Sunday. Would it be to our advantage to have it? People are having, no, I take it back. They're there to party.
I mean, as they are at Jammin, we considered it Dandelion Days, but we were not certain because a lot of times you have to like register and pay for a booth there, and I wasn't sure if we were walking around with a clipboard,
But
if
I
we would
have-
be seen as
I
some
have
type
the
of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Moocher?
I have the information booth, and I'm in
Mhm.
charge of that for those students. But most of the people who attend that are not from Muskego, so bad idea. Bad idea.
I remember you said that, yeah, you would have to have someone on site at all times.
times,
And
yeah.
that
Friday,
doesn't really
Saturdays.
work.
That was tricky,
Yeah.
to get that. But we are expanding, in terms of the events. We're gonna hit National Night Out. So I think this is a good group of big events. I think we'll be able to get some data, and I also think it's what we can achieve right now. I think otherwise.
What about being in the parade? Do you think that the library could be in the parade? I know that isn't really to do with
Which
this
one?
necessarily, but
Yeah.
for Dandelion Days,
Oh,
you guys make march in the parade.
It would be a good thing for the children, but it's a lot of work to be in the parade. It really is.
Is it?
I think.
Unless you get people to walk, but if you
Yeah, I mean, just like to hold a
We spend
sign that
weeks on a
says the
float.
library and walk. Yeah, not a float. A float is, I could see it being too much.
I used to build floats
Seriously?
for a 4th of July parade. I mean, when I was a kid, I shouldn't say that. I helped tape things on. That
Yeah.
makes it sound like I was more impressive than I was.
I did that. When I went to the Memorial Day parade in Elm Grove, and the library was in it, and they were handing out pencils that said Elm Grove Library, and everyone was so excited, and I just thought,
It's a cool idea. That's in August, you said?
yeah, it's the end of August.
It's the Dandelion Days.
It's on the last Sunday of the month.
I think I would have to see how we're doing. We are onboarding our new children's librarian. Sam's in a new role because Sam promoted into Elka's position. We're going to be hiring a new adult librarian. It's a strategic planning year. We're renovating 2 areas. I don't.
Not real much.
I feel a little stressed thinking about adding another event this year. But, who knows, maybe in August I'll be super relaxed.
Well, it'll be right after summer reading program ends, so I'm sure you'll be so relaxed.
Floating on that high of adrenaline. I'll keep it in the back of my
But I
mind.
think that's too late to get in on the parade because we already have had to sign up for it.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I'll keep it in mind for the future.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see here. It's 6:34. Any
I thought it was fine.
time passes.
When you're having fun.
Time passes so quickly.
It is kind of embarrassing that we haven't updated that clock. I'm going to do that.
It's a sign of our stress levels that time is present. Okay, so we have our focus group questions here. Anything on those? They're fairly similar to last year. A facilities question, a services question, and then exploration questions. What do you want more of? What's preventing you? What frustrates you? And of course, with focus groups, you start with the question, but you may start to pull out more information and guide the conversation depending upon where it goes. So these are questions to start people talking, but anything's fair game. Who knows where it will go?
mm-hmm.
So let's get to website usability study. Okay, so we have some boundaries here. We have a template within the software. So there's only so much that we can actually change. This is not a full, it would never be a full redesign of the website. Because of that, we need to maintain certain colors to maintain our branding. The focus of the study is to analyze how information is organized, right? Like, are we putting it in the right place? Terminology. Are we putting AWE and OPAC and WAPL and like all these other acronyms that people are like, I don't know what that means. Is there anything missing or is there anything unnecessary? So those are really what we're trying to find with the website study. We will get volunteers or testers. They'll be approached from existing computer users and, if possible, non-user volunteers. It may be hard to get a non-user volunteer. It may be something where it's like, hey, Michelle, bring your neighbor into the library one day. See if they're willing to just sit down if they don't use the library. So trying to get some non-users in who've never used the website is helpful. Don't want to make it too long to make it viable to recruit testers. And then there's 3 main components to the study: workflow analysis, error detection, and analytics review. And then I just talked a lot about what all that was.
You have an
You have a
typo in here.
What? Where? Don't say it out loud.
Bullet point. The last
the
bullet
third
point.
line up from the bottom.
Oh. Well, so this packet is also in perpetuity on the agenda, so we're just going to live with it. I'm just circling it so that I don't send this
Goes
PowerPoint
along
to
with your
anyone
adult
else.
film.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's sad. And of course, autocorrect wouldn't have found that.
Nope.
There should be like a context correct where it's like,
Yeah.
you haven't been talking about this thematically, but possibly you meant something else. Okay. Any questions about the usability study? It's just looking for anything that's wrong with it, looking for anything that's outdated. It's more of a staff thing. Workflow is you give prompts to people like you're standing over there, and so tell me how you donate to the library. And then you see, do they struggle to do it? Is it easy for them? Do they take a really weird roundabout way to get there? So you're just sort of analyzing that. And then analytics review is we look at the analytics related to the website and just see if there's any trends or anything of interest to us there. So. That is that. Any questions?
Good work.
All right.
Yeah.
Now we just have to do it. Great idea in theory. Okay. So then what I am looking for from you all is just a endorsement of this, and as you know, most of it we're going to run with, make the adjustments that you guys said, and then the community survey with your thank you. You all have to pinky swear, and hopefully none of the rest of the board watches this, that none of those errors were there. It's all perfect from the start.
You know Gail will find another 100 anyway, so.
Yeah, she is great at that, absolutely. So anyway, I'm just looking for an endorsement from you guys so that when we come to the full board, I can say, yeah, strategic planning actually saw this. It's not.
Is it a motion to it?
Yeah, let's do a motion to endorse. Yeah.
Okay.
I move to endorse.
With a second.
Correct.
I'll third.
So then we're just looking for all
Everyone
those in favor.
say aye. I mean, sorry.
All those in
All
favor.
those in favor. Sorry, I'm on 4 hours of sleep.
Ooh.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against, nay. Any abstentions? All right. Motion passes.
All right.
Endorsement passes.
All right. Then, next on the agenda is the communications.
Communications and miscellaneous business as authorized by law. We have none. I know of.
See you next Tuesday.
And can I get a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
I want to say
abstentions.
thank you to both of you. That was a hell of a lot of work.
Really?
Thank you.
Michelle and Sam have been crucial in, I wouldn't have been able to do it without their
Yeah.
help. So, 6:40 p.m. we are adjourned.